Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the delay, but thank you for making the time to attend today's training, which is Reducing and Managing Workplace, presented by AlphaStaff. I am your host, Shade Khan. I'm an HR account manager, and I'll introduce you to presenters in just a minute. And a little bit about our presenters today. Diane Martin is the accredited claims adjuster at AlphaStaff. She's been with the AlphaStaff Risk Solutions team since 2016. She coordinates our workers' comp claims and has over 13 years in claim management. She's a licensed claim adjuster and has a lot of experience in different auto liability, general liability, and workers' comp claims. Benjamin Abdallah is the safety and loss control coordinator. He's been with us since 2010 as the AlphaStaff Risk Solutions team. He coordinates the safety and loss control services and is a seasoned professional with over 28 years in the PEO and workers' comp insurance industry. Today's agenda will be on the AlphaStaff claim reporting guide. We'll have a step-by-step claims reporting instructions. We'll go through the employee's report of work-related injury illness form, how to take the employee's statement of acknowledgement and the employee authorization for initial medical treatment form, and also the workers' compensation pharmacy form. We'll talk about what to do prior to an injury, the different state posting requirements, and what to do in the event of an injury. We'll talk about the initial treatment form, reporting the injury, the employee's report of work-related injury form, after a claim is filed, what to do, the workers' compensation pharmacy program, returning to work process, and any other notifications. We'll also have a summary and then the contacts for this topic. So without ado, I'm going to give you over to Diane Martin. Diane?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Diana Martin. I am the claims examiner, one of the claims examiners here at AlphaStaff. And I'm just going to go through the claim reporting form and, just from when you hire an employee, just go over the procedure of what's expected, what should be done, and how the process will work on claims reporting. And of course, we start off prior to an injury when your employees are hired, or if you guys have meetings and talk about work comp, you always want to let the employees know how to report a claim and what you're expecting. If they're injured on the job and it's a work-related injury, you need to let them know who they're supposed to report a claim to. And of course, explain that it, meaning job-related, that it happened in the course and scope of employment. It's not for us to determine if it is a compensable claim or not. That will be determined by the work comp adjuster, either being AmTrust or CCMSI, depending on the state you are in. And of course, initial medical treatment should be sought. We prefer an urgent care facility over sending everyone to a hospital to keep costs down. Of course, if it is an emergency, they would go to the hospital, and we cannot determine that either. It has to be at the comfort level of the injured employee. In the event of an injury, you would offer either first aid or medical care when an employee comes to report an injury. Most places should have a panel or a medical panel directing for them to pick a medical facility off of there. If you do not, we again suggest an urgent care that takes workers' compensation, a walk-in clinic for initial treatment. You would give the injured employee the employer of authorization for initial treatment, which is part of the reporting packet. And that would allow them to get their initial treatment, and it tells them where to bill the claims to. Of course, if it is an emergency, more than what a walk-in clinic would do, you would call 911. The initial treatment form is, there's an example here. The employee for authorization for initial treatment must be given to the injured employee upon their initial visit. This allows them for the facility to see them that we're authorizing that initial treatment. The chain of custody, some clients have them, some do not. If you do not have a chain of custody, it is not necessary. The provider that they are going to will provide that chain of custody. If you do have it, you can send it to the initial treatment, or you can send it with the employer for the initial treatment. I put this map in of the United States because we have two policies now. We have an MCP and a master. The MCP is our green is the MCP states, I apologize. So those states in green do have a separate packet, and those states are now being handled by CCMSI. The states in yellow under master policy, those are AmTrust policies. So those are the carrier for those states would be AmTrust. And of course, the gray states are monopolistic states. Those are states where they have in-state adjusters. AlphaStaff nor our carriers have any access to those claims. Reporting the injury, the employee or supervisor, manager, authorized personnel must report the injury's illness to AlphaStaff. So once an employee notifies you of an injury, within 24 hours, you should be notifying us. Even if you don't have all the information, provide as much information as you can so we can submit the claim in order, to meet the guidelines of the state. The supervisor would, like we said, get as much information as possible, include any witnesses. If you are questioning the claim, it's always good to let us know at the beginning of a claim. Once you have as much information, you would complete the EROWI, which is our claims reporting packet. You could email it to, which we prefer because we get it immediately, if you email it to wcclaims@alphastaff.com. We do have a fax number for people that must use it. It just is a little bit of a delay because it goes through a paperless system before we get it. But we do check the fax, every hour. So we will get it, but the WC Claims email is preferred. The supervisor manager reports the injury. If the employee refuses medical care and does not want to file work comp claim, you would still report it as a report only or an incident only claim, because they might feel that way, but in 2 days they may come back and want treatment, and they are allowed to do so. But then we'll file late reporting. So even if you tell them they have an incident, it should always be reported, even if they're not wanting to seek treatment at that time. And once you're made aware, you would send it over as a report only. It does not count against you. It doesn't get filed. It just goes on for reporting purposes only. Once we receive the ERI, we put it in our system and we send it over to the correct carrier, and we inform you of the claim number and the carrier that will be handling your claim. This is just an example of a report. We have highlighted what we need in order to get the claim reported, the basic information. There's a lot of information that we do need for if a claim becomes OSHA recordable, things that are going to be needed later on. But for initial reporting, the highlighted areas is what we would require to at least get the claim reported. And if anyone has any questions, of course, on the initial paperwork, it has my phone number directly and Erica's, or that WC Claims email would reach both of us for any questions if you needed answers on filling out the form. This is a very important sheet. This is the employee statement of acknowledgement. This is letting the employee, the injured worker, know that they also have responsibility in their claim. Once they report a claim, they have responsibilities to follow. So we request that all injured employees sign this, read it, and know their responsibilities. It's important to know that they have to notify you after every appointment of their work status. Again, this just lets them know of their responsibilities, and we strongly suggest that every injured worker reads and signs this form. Again, as I stated earlier, we have two carriers now. We have CCMSI and we have AmTrust. So each program has a separate prescription. This should be given to the injured employee so that they can get their first script filled when a provider, on their initial treatment. The CompX, that is for CCMSI. That paper will allow them to get their first prescription filled, so they should have a copy of this. Once they're injured, they should have a copy of their packet. The Optum is for AmTrust, and we do have the reports separated per state. So based on your state, you would have the proper prescription card in your packet. So you wouldn't have to do the guessing. And again, the map is there to guide you on which form would go with which state. So after a claim is filed, the workers' compensation carrier assigns an adjuster and a claim number. In most cases, the work comp adjuster will make initial contact with the supervisor, manager, regarding the employees. So again, even though you ask these questions, or you provide answers to questions on the form, once it's assigned to an adjuster, they will ask the same questions. It's part of their investigation. So it gets repetitive. I know it seems like we seem to ask the same thing. You say we already provided answers to that. It's just they get audited, and things could change from day to day. Things that reported could be a little bit different. So every adjuster has to make their initial contact, and they have to verify the information that they receive. So the questions do get repetitive, but it's to complete their investigation. Most claims with AmTrust, again, under medical only claims, if they're minor injury claims, we usually do the contact here at AlphaStaff. We usually provide the information, as AmTrust medical only is basically will pay the bills on a claim, make sure they're getting their treatment, their referrals. They won't make as much contact. If the employee is going to be off work more than 3 days, then we also have a personal action form that is supposed to be completed to let AlphaStaff know, so that they can decide if they qualify for FMLA, if there is paperwork that needs to be sent out. That's also part of the packet. Again, it's the personal action form. There'll be an example on one of the next slides. And we also monitor the claims every week. We will check on the claims. We will make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to the WC Claims email. We can provide updates to you if you're not hearing back from the adjuster. If there's any issues, Erica and myself reach directly out to the supervisors, and we will get that information for you. This is the personal action form. This is what would trigger if any employee is out of work based on a doctor's note or workers' comp, or for any reason that they are out of work for more than 3 days due to an injury or illness. This form should be completed and submitted, and it has the human resource email address on there. So it would just be completed and submitted to the human resource so they can follow up with the proper paperwork per state guidelines. Return to work. Again, this is a big issue. We always want to get the employee back to work as soon as possible. After each doctor visit, as we stated, it is the claimant's or injured employee's responsibility to provide you with a work status. They should be right after that appointment, they should be emailing you, faxing you, whatever their work status. If there's a light duty position available, we always want to get them back to work as soon as possible. This keeps the claim costs down. It keeps them from staying out of work. It reduces lawsuits. It's more important than we think. Of course, if there is no position, we don't want someone going back to re-injure. But if there's light duty work within the restrictions, we always want to keep them working as much as possible. Return to work released by a physician, and when the employer offers physician with a physical restriction or limitation, that's their responsibility to provide you copies of every work status after every appointment. The employer's responsibility, which is you should make every effort to accommodate the claimant's light duty. The benefits of accommodating light duty include promotion, rehabilitation, and recovery. Gives the employer the opportunity to demonstrate concern. You know, we always want to make sure that they're doing well and show that we care about their well-being. It also improves morale for the claimant, keeps costs low, as I explained already. So in summary, of course, advise your employee that work-related injuries must be reported immediately to their supervisor or authorized personnel. Direct the employee to a medical facility. Again, we prefer walk-in clinic, urgent care. Unless it's a severe injury, they would go right to the hospital. Make sure the employee takes the authorization form with them, and they also, which isn't here, the description card form. Within 24 hours of your acknowledgement of an injury, as soon as you get the fax, complete the first 2 pages of the EROWI, which is the injury packet. Fax or email that to us at AlphaStaff. Be sure to obtain a work status note from the claimant after every appointment. Communicate with the employee during the course of their claim. Of course, if they are litigated, we would notify you, or you would get a letter, and communication should be through their attorney. Make every effort to accommodate the light duty. Again, this keeps claim costs down. Keeping them working helps their morale. The more they stay home, they tend to watch, commercials, get attorneys. It just creates, the claims usually are much more higher when we do not provide light duty or back to work for them. The employee is going to be off more than 3 days. Please complete the personal action form and submit it back to HR so they can file their paperwork to make sure that we are staying up with state requirements. This page is a good page to keep. It does give all our contact phone numbers, our email address. Again, it's Diana, myself, and Erica Fitzgerald. We both handle the workers' compensation claims. It has Ben for safety and loss control, and it has the human resource department. So all of us can answer questions regarding work-related injuries. And I believe that concludes my portion. I appreciate your time. If there is any questions, again, you can contact myself or Erica at any time.
This is Ben, the coordinator. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you, Ben.
Thank you, Diana. I'd like to welcome everyone to our next segment of discussion for reducing and managing workplace injuries. Injuries to employees can be devastating for businesses, especially small businesses with fewer employees available to take on the roles when an injured worker is on leave. And while workers' compensation insurance helps pay the medical costs and replaces the injured and lost income, your business will have to absorb costs associated with reduced productivity, possible overtime, training replacements, the list goes on. These are costs. The best way to minimize the hidden costs of workplace injuries is to prevent accidents from happening in the first place. So it's beneficial to follow the steps in this presentation and consider developing a formal, comprehensive workplace safety program to help reduce the risk of injury. We'll look at the steps to reduce the workplace injuries. We're going to be talking about engage management and employees, analyze your workplace and operations, mitigate hazards, implement training. review, respond, and improve programs. So let's look at engage management employees. Next slide. Businesses are most successful in improving workplace safety when leadership and the employees can communicate and collaborate. It's best to have a safety committee if you're large enough to have that. But the important thing is to realize management employees need to talk and keep in communication about the safety within that facility. The responsibility for workplace safety, of course, should be everyone's part, and they're all involved in it. Specifically, employees and managers should be tasked with implementing, maintaining, and improving the workplace safety program components. These are all part of it. So when management and employees engage with each other, this is a positive sense to make sure we have a healthy safety atmosphere within the workplace. Analyze your workplace and operations. You need to evaluate your business from top to bottom. Review your equipment as well as your workplace activities. As part of your evaluation, talk to your employees and learn what their safety concerns are. You know what their job is, they know what their job is, but they're the ones actually out there working and seeing what they have to deal with as they perform their duties. And an example will be somebody's working at a machine and there's a switch they have to turn on, but it's a problematic switch where they have to jiggle it to make it work. That's a problem. It's a safety concern. And they need to report those to management when they find something like that. So communication is the key. So as part of your evaluation, talk to your employees and learn their safety concerns. Ask what they're seeing out there, what you can do to help. Whenever you have a new operation or equipment, a possible new facility to your business, you add that. Analyze those risks as well and try to get those taken care of as soon as possible. Speaking of which, mitigate hazards. Next slide. Simply identifying and being aware of hazardous practices and equipment and infrastructure is really just not enough. I mean, when hazards are identified, you should try to remove and control them by replacing or fixing equipment, adding new safety measures, or changing the workplace operations. Perfect example to mitigate a hazard would be, let's say you're a manufacturing company, small manufacturer, and you've got parts that need to be delivered, and sometimes you'll have a driver or two that are delivering local parts to different places around. Those people that are on the road driving have a risk exposure of accidents on the road. You could possibly mitigate that hazard by eliminating that position by using a common carrier to deliver your products if you can. You may find it could even cost less money to have something like that in your program as opposed to having to pay drivers. So those are things you can look at to mitigate hazards. Implementing training. Train employees about the workplace safety and how to identify hazards. Include workplace safety training as part of your employee onboarding process. When you hire somebody new, you're looking for experienced people. You hire somebody you think can do that job, and they're well experienced, but they're not experienced in your workplace. The actual place they're going to be performing these tasks, they don't have a clue what it's like. So you need to communicate that to them in the onboarding process. Show them around. Show them where they're going to be working, what they're going to be working around, the elements in their immediate work surroundings. Once you have your crew working fine, offer refresher training on a regular basis. In addition to intervention training, you might want to consider the training for what happens in emergency situations. What about emergency procedures? If there's a fire, where are the fire extinguishers? Does anybody know how to use them? First aid kit's the same thing. This is important so your workforce can respond effectively if an accident or emergency does occur. Review, respond, and improve. Well, promoting workplace safety is always an ongoing process. It doesn't end with just a safety meeting or two. It's something that truly has to go on and on. And you should periodically review and improve your programs as you go forward, especially in response to accidents or what we call near misses. Near misses need to be looked at closely because they could have easily become a serious injury had they taken place. And look at your employees and what they're doing and how they're doing it. Is there something an employee can do differently to avoid that hazard, or is it truly a problem you need to repair or fix to eliminate that near miss? The risk may continue if the basis is not fully understood or corrected. Employees should always be encouraged to report newly identified hazards or workplace incidents so that management can respond appropriately. The workplace safety program has additional benefits beyond preventing accidents. These programs have been found to increase the employee morale. When an employee realizes that management has a program of safety and that's their philosophy and they're including those employees, they feel a sense that I'm working in a safe place. People care. So their morale is higher. With higher morale, they're probably not going to be looking for a different place to work. So your retention of those employees is higher, as is your productivity. It all fits together. So it's important to do these things. Moving on to examples of light duty and transitional jobs. Diana talked about this. I'm going to kind of dovetail into what she said. We're going to review return to work policy, light duty work options, examples of light duty. Establishing a return to work program and getting injured employees back to work is an important way to control the cost and the duration of a work comp claim. Often light duty or transitional jobs to an employee who's been released to work status with possible restrictions can reduce the impact of that claim significantly. The first step in a successful return to work program needs to take place well before the injury occurs. You need to establish a relationship with your medical provider. Diane talked about when you're reporting an injury, there are prescribed preferred providers that we use. And your medical provider needs to know that your company is willing to accommodate any light duty that might be available to an injured worker, including low impact or sedentary work, adherence to the prescribed restrictions such as lifting limitations and all that. It's important that when an accident does occur with injury, the medical provider needs to know that you're offering light duty, and they're more willing to assign light duty with restrictions to that employee rather than taking them off work, which can result in the claim lingering as a lost time case. You don't want that to happen. It can become very costly. Bringing an injured employee back to work on light duty not only reduces the workers' comp costs, but it also can speed up the recovery as it improves the workers' morale. Just like Diana says, it really does have an impact on them knowing they've got something to come back to in the workplace, that they're not going to be terminated because they were hurt at work. They feel they're still a valued employee, so they're willing to get back to work. They're probably not too happy with doing light duty tasks per se, and that means they want to get back to their normal job as soon as they possibly can. So it does boost their morale. And larger companies have long recognized these benefits and they've endorsed light duty whenever they could, still do. Smaller companies, however, often resist, and they don't want to return employees back to light duty because they may not see the economic benefits of doing so. And they may determine that light duties are just not available when indeed that's not the case. Every company has light duty jobs. When assigning an injured employee to light duty work, make sure that the job meets the doctor's restriction. I've got a list of 33 light duty tasks that injured workers are often assigned to, and they range from a lot of different aspects, depending on the industry. And that list I have in what we have is a safety library, AlphaStaff safety library. You can download this to take a look at it. But just to give you an example of some of the light duty tasks, we're talking about possibly painting aisle markings, picking up trash in the yard, something that you would normally pay an employee to do. There are a lot of different things you can have a person do. One of my favorites is updating the SDS or safety data sheet manuals. Most all companies use chemical products, and a person that's on light duty, if they can read and write, should be able to inventory what chemicals are there and a safety data sheet that goes with that chemical product. If it's not there, they can make a list of the ones that are missing, and management get those safety data sheets ordered from the manufacturer. This brings them in compliance with the hazard communication laws. It's federally mandated. So you're actually helping yourself when you have employees do tasks like that. It's basically sedentary work. The list goes on, and I encourage everybody to look at that list. We'll talk about the safety library in a little bit. Another option in establishing a successful return to work program is obtaining the guide identifying and solving return to work problems. And that's available in the Safety Library as well. And this guide actually translates the findings from a research study into a tool that provides advice as to how to manage challenging return to work situations. This guide illustrates the red flags and the warning signs that a worker may not be recovering or progressing through the compensation process as expected. And they prompt decision makers to ask questions about the situation. The red flags in this guide are based on empirical data from a long-term compensation claims study. And there are also green lights. Green lights are the suggestions for practices to improve workers' recovery in the return to work process. And of course, they were generated by expert opinion and consensus as well. There are also vignettes at the beginning of each section of the guide, and these are based on workers and actual situations. They illustrate problems and offer suggestions on how they might be managed. So it's good information, good reading. A word about our safety library. The Safety Library is a resource of safety training tools and programs that include safety topic handouts to be used for your in-house safety meetings or new employee onboarding orientations. Our client managers have access to that safety library through AlphaSource, and it's available 24/7 to enter and browse and download safety items of choice. For return to work topics that we've discussed today, simply enter the library and pan down the category menu to the return to work file folder, open it, select the download of your choice. For more information about the manager's access to the safety library, you can either reach out to your account manager or to me, and we'll submit a request for manager access. When clients come on board, we try to find out who's going to be in charge of safety, either the HR person or possibly a safety director. If they're a manager, they can have access to the safety library. We often ask about, can my employees access that safety library? We downplay that. We really don't want employees to have access for one major reason. When an employee downloads a program, management may or may not know they've done that. If they look at that program or whatever they've downloaded, they may or may not fully understand it or may not have read it completely, and it may be misinterpreted. It's better if management has control of the safety functions and training within your company so that management can download what subject matter they want to talk about. If an employee has a question about something, they can download that and explain it to the whole staff and document that training was held. When an employee downloads it themselves, there's no way for you to document that any training was accepted by anybody. So managers need to have control of it, and that's why we require the management access only rather than employees. And that's pretty much what I have today. If there's any questions, you can now or email me. I'm happy to help anybody with their safety programs. When a new client comes on board, we provide them a formal safety program that can always be built upon. It's one that is accessible to management to expand and use for their purpose. I thank everybody for attending today.
Great. Thank you, Ben and Diane, for that. I definitely agree. As HR account managers, we advocate for, light duty when you return to work. So please reach out to us if you have any questions, any additional questions. Actually, one just came up. So the question is that I have access to the safety library through my employee and not my manager log into AlphaSource. Ben, could you answer that?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Sure. I have access to the safety library through my employee, not my manager login to AlphaSource.
We need to have somebody email me that question so we can review it together and find out the answer. There are several people I can go to for the answer and see what can be done to change and resolve the issue. So please connect with me one-on-one. We can get together.
Great. If anyone has any other questions, please go ahead and use the chat feature and we'll try to get them answered. Okay, I think that's all we have. So Thank you once again, Ben and Diane, and all those who have attended. Copies of the presentation can be obtained by contacting us at hrsc@alphastaff.com, or you can also call us at 888-335-9545. Once again, that's hrsc@alphastaff.com, and you can call us at 888-335-9545. We also have this webinar and also others that we've conducted in the past, recorded and available for you on the alphastaff.com website under client resources for your review. Please go ahead and take advantage of that. Coming next on Thursday, November 15th, 2018 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the next webinar we'll present is Managing Different Generations in the Workplace, which is presented by Audrey Harrison, HR Account Manager. So please try to go ahead and register and attend. Thank you all for attending, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamshid.
Thank you.